I always told myself the job was easy. Keep watch, log events, make sure the building stayed empty. That was the whole pitch when I signed the contract: night security at an old corporate complex on the edge of town. Nobody worked there anymore. The company had gone under years ago, but for insurance reasons they needed someone to sit in a booth, monitor cameras, and walk the halls a few times a night. I liked the solitude. Or at least, I thought I did. The building itself was a gray block of concrete and glass, 5 stories tall, surrounded by a parking lot that never had more than my car in it. When I arrived at 10 p.m., the air always smelled faintly of wet asphalt and cold metal. Inside, the halls reeked of dust and stale paper. The kind of smell that sticks in your throat. The first nights were uneventful. I'd walk the corridors, hear the hum of fluorescent lights, the buzz of an old vending machine in the break room. My flashlight beam would skim across cubicles that looked frozen in time, coffee mugs with faded rings, calendars still flipped to December 2017, family photos turned face down in the dust. But as the weeks passed, the silence changed. It wasn't comforting anymore. It pressed on me, heavy, like the building was holding its breath. The first time I noticed something wrong, I was on camera duty. Midnight, sipping burnt coffee, staring at the rows of monitors. Most showed nothing but empty hallways. Then, faint through the static of the feeds, I heard it: click, click, click. Footsteps. Not steady ones. They dragged, as though whoever made them was barefoot or limping. The sound wasn't in the control room itself, it bled faintly through the audio system tied to the cameras. I leaned closer. Screen 6 flickered, showing the east corridor. Long stretch of beige walls, overhead lights buzzing. Empty. Click. Drag. Click. I grabbed the radio and called out, my voice echoing in the control booth. Is anyone inside the building? This is security. You need to identify yourself. Nothing. I checked the corridor myself. The walk there was suffocatingly quiet. When I reached the East Hall, it looked just like the monitor: empty, sterile, dead. No footprints. No sign anyone had been there. I told myself the audio feed was picking up interference. Wires were old, after all. But when I tried to sleep the next day, the sound followed me into my dreams, slow, dragging footsteps pacing just beyond my vision. A week later, the elevator doors opened by themselves. I was finishing a patrol on the 3rd floor. The air smelled like dust and overheated wiring. Then came the metallic ding. The elevator at the far end of the hall slid open, its light spilling across the floor. Nobody was inside. The buttons on the panel blinked. Floor 3 lit up. Then it flicked to 2, then 1, then basement. The doors closed slowly, groaning like something straining to hold them. I stood frozen, my flashlight trembling in my hand. Elevators don't run without someone pressing a button. When I checked the basement later, the doors opened again before I even touched the call switch. The smell that wafted out wasn't dust this time, it was damp, like earth turned over after rain, with a faint sweetness under it, almost like rot. I didn't go inside. By the 3rd month, my nerves were shot. I jumped at the hum of lights, the whisper of my own footsteps. I caught movement in the corners of the monitors, shapes that ducked out of sight when I blinked. At first, I thought they were tricks of the old cameras. But then I saw them without the screens. On patrol one night, I passed through the cubicles on the 2nd floor. My beam skimmed over chairs, filing cabinets, little dust motes spinning in the air. Then the light caught something darker than shadow, something crouched at the far end, bent low, limbs too long. It straightened as though it realized I'd seen it. Then it folded back into the dark, vanishing without. I froze, my throat dry, my mind racing. Should I call it in? To who? The police? Tell them what, exactly? I saw a shadow with arms too long. Instead, I whispered to myself, over and over, "You're tired. You're imagining it. Just keep moving." But I couldn't shake the detail, the eyes. For a split second, before it vanished, I thought I saw them glint in the beam. Not red, not glowing, just wet, like the eyes of something alive. The voices came next. I was back in the control room, watching the feeds. 2 a.m., the hour when exhaustion makes everything blur. From the speakers, faint whispers bled through, layered over each other like a crowd just beyond the walls. At first I thought it was feedback. But then one voice rose clearer than the rest. It was low, male, and it said my name. Not once. Over and over. Michael. I ripped the headset off and slammed it on the desk, my heart hammering. But the whisper didn't stop. It came from the hall outside the booth now, muffled through the metal door. Michael. I gripped my flashlight like a weapon and opened the door. The corridor was empty. Silent. Only the vending machine hummed. When I turned back to the monitors, every single camera feed had gone black except one. The east corridor again. And there, standing dead center, was me. I stared at the figure, same uniform, same flashlight, same slump in the shoulders. The double on the screen lifted its head. The eyes were solid black. And then it smiled. The feed cut to static. After that, I couldn't convince myself it was stress or imagination. Something in the building was aware of me. Not just aware, interested. On my last shift, I walked the halls like a man marching to his execution. The building felt alive, walls groaning faintly, lights flickering with each step. I reached the lobby at 3 a.m. and found the front doors locked. That was impossible. They were magnetic locks, controlled by my keycard. I swiped it again and again. The light stayed red. Behind me, the elevator dinged. Slowly, painfully, the doors slid open. The smell rolled out thick and heavy, earth and rot. Inside, instead of mirrors and brushed steel, I saw a hallway stretching downward, impossibly far, lined with doors that had no handles. The light inside was the sickly yellow of old bulbs about to die. Something moved in that corridor. Dozens of figures, pale and thin, pressed against the walls. Their faces blurred, features sliding as though they couldn't hold a shape. But their eyes were black, all of them, and they stared directly at me. From their mouths came the whispers, rising into a chant of my name. I staggered back, but the lobby stretched. Each step carried me nowhere, the doors retreating, the space warping like I was running inside a nightmare. Then, out of the elevator, stepped my double. Same uniform, same face, but the smile was wider this time, tearing too far across its cheeks. It raised its flashlight, mirroring me perfectly. Only its beam didn't shine white. It shone black, swallowing everything it touched. The figures in the elevator began to crawl forward on hands and knees, dragging themselves toward me, the chant building to a roar. My double opened its mouth, and the sound that came out wasn't human. It was the dragging click of footsteps, over and over, louder than anything I'd ever heard. The last thing I remember is the lights above bursting, glass raining down, plunging the lobby into darkness. I woke up in a hospital 2 days later. They told me I'd been found unconscious outside the building, lying on the asphalt near my car. The cameras inside, they said, had stopped working months ago. No footage of me was ever recovered. I quit the job, of course. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is still, I hear it again, the click, drag, click of footsteps circling my bed. And I wonder if I ever really left that building, or if part of me is still there, smiling back from the dark.